know that y'all have been sitting here quite a while today, this morning and this afternoon, and I came out today to try to give you a program overview, and I want y'all to please forgive me for a couple of different things. One of them is I'm not a professional speaker. I'm not on the lecture circuit. I generally do most of my speaking in the office on a one-on-one basis, so I'm pretty down to earth and pretty basic about what I say. And the other is, don't let the orange shirt fool you. I am an Aggie. Whoop. Without any further ado, my name is Brad Kieschnick. I work for the Natural Resources Conservation, and I represent Austin County. Some of you I know in here. Some of the producers I have, have a more intimate knowledge of their land than others. Ones that I don't, I'd love to introduce myself or meet you on a personal basis, perhaps later. The conservation programs that I'm going to be going through today are under the 2008 Farm Bill, which is going to be expiring this year. We'll be getting a new Farm Bill for 2012, hopefully. Some of the word that I've heard about it is they are in the process of working on it right now, but as you all know, with the current budget constraints that we have and congressional and some of our leadership, some of the things that we may have been accustomed to for the past few years or for the past decade or so, they may be getting shaken up a little bit and they may be getting changed. I'm going to elaborate a little bit more on that, but it's not looking quite as rosy as I would like it to. But the programs that you've been accustomed to are still around for 2012, and that's the ones that I want us to be thinking about and want to be focusing on. Next year and the next 4 or 5 years after that, it's going to be a whole different ballgame. Public involvement in programs, anyone can participate. You're my prime audience, but local, state, and federal agencies, agricultural organizations, local agribusinesses, impacted stakeholders, and even entities. Each and every one of these folks are people that I work with directly or my counterparts in other counties work with through our various programs and through our various technical assistance. The reason I put this slide in here for our local work group is because I want to take you through just basically through the process of how you as an individual come into our office, how it works as far as how I make my decisions, why we make them, and then how it affects you personally on the ground. The local work group is convened by our Soil and Water Conservation District, which is one of the people that I answer to. We have a local board in Austin County, which some of you may know, know my board of directors. But part of what we do during this meeting, which we had on June the 1st of this past year, was ranking resource concerns to address specific land issues. We sat down and tried to find out the things that people wanted to do and try to find out what land we had in the county to make sure that the things that that are important to you, the things that you've been hearing about today, are the things that any kind of money that's allocated to us actually goes to things that you want. With the recommended allocation percentages for each of the land uses, provided input to me for the program direction that we went into, made ranking tool recommendations, which I'll go over that in just a little bit, and I tried to expand my outreach efforts to bring in new landowners and people that may not have been traditionally aware of conservation programs in the past or how we could give advice to them. This is this is our resource team-based funds and the percentage of those funds and how we allocate them across Austin County. As you can see, most any money that I get goes toward, 75% of it goes toward pasture land, 20% toward rangeland, and 5% toward cropland. What that essentially means is we try to take everyone as a whole and say, what does most people have in this county? Most people here are cattle people. Most of it is pasture land. There is some rangeland. We do have some grazed range, and we do have some cropland. We have people that raise rice. We do have people that raise cotton. We do have people, and even if you raise hay, hay is considered a cropland by the NRCS. All this is breaking it down where we send most of the money. I can change this on a year-to-year basis, but that's what we have set up for 2012. These are the resource concerns as we prioritize them, and I don't know what happened to that slide, but it kind of got cattywampus on me, I guess. If you'll notice under pasture, these are all supposed to be lined up for pasture range and cropland, but my pasture land, these are the resource concerns as the local work group this past year placed them. Plant health being our number one, water quality being number two, soil erosion, soil quality, domestic animals, water quantity, air quality, and energy. And the subsequent ones, which are kind of out of order for range and cropland for some reason, those are the resource concerns as they've been placed into those. And what that's essentially saying is the practices that we offer in our field office technical guide that correspond to these resource concerns, as we rank them during the application process, which I'll go over in a second, this is the importance of interest that we put on it based on you and your peers that came into our office. The ranking tool is based on 4 evaluation categories. The first one, and I think is probably the most important one, is the cost effectiveness of the practice. Is this something that we should be doing on your land? Is it worth it for you to be doing it? Can we do it? Is it something that we offer? I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, if you already have 2 ponds, should we be building another pond on the same property, within a reasonable amount of walking distance for a cow to walk to it? The second is the national priorities. Those are a set of questions that are put on that are set up by the regional and our national level to ask questions, which I can go over those to you on a more personal basis later. But they're a set of questions that define. They put you in an order as far as ranking score when you come in for an application on who gets what funding and how, as do the state questions, the state issues as well. Those are things that I don't have any control over. Those are dictated to us. The local issues, that's where it comes into play, where you say, these are the things that I want, these are the things that are important to me. Those local issues go into the ranking questions that I provide for Austin County. That's where we can kind of decide, based on these 4 things, where you fall in relation to your friends and your neighbors when you come in for cost share funding at the field office level. The beginning farmer and rancher, these are the socially disadvantaged and the limited resource farmer and rancher. These are several different categories that are offered throughout the range of all of our programs. As far as people that have not operated a farm or have not operated one within 10 consecutive years, or member of a racial or ethnic prejudice or group that have been subjected to prejudice, or one that makes below the poverty line or less than 50% of the county median income, which you can see there. If you fall under one of these categories, and the thing that I want to stress by even putting this up here is, if you do fall into one of those categories, there is higher cost share available for it. So these are a brief list of the conservation programs that we offer, and I'm going to go over each one of those in a little bit more detail. But probably the one that I always put on the, when I do presentations like this, the one that I probably get the most interest generated from, the one that's probably our bread and butter program, is EQIP, the Environmental Quality Incentives Program. I can get more of the practices done for things that you want, the things that you've been hearing about, that these folks have been talking about, from toad habitat to any kind of wildlife planning to ponds. Those are the kind of things that we do. That's the kind of things that we try to help you plan, and to help, if funds are available through us, to help pay for through these programs. But EQIP is one that provides financial and technical assistance to agricultural producers to promote ag production and environmental quality as a compatible goal. The guidelines for EQIP, as you can see, it's a 1 to 10 year agreement. No minimum acreage on size. So, I mean, there's probably folks in here that have 5 or 10 acres. There's probably people in here that have 1,000 acres. We're not gonna try to discriminate you against, well, you only have 5 acres. It's not going to be worth it for you to do it. Conservation to me, if it's 1,000 acres and I've got 10 people doing it, or if it's one man and he's got 1,000 acres, it's still 1,000 acres of conservation to me. It may be more legwork on my side, but you know what? Y'all are the taxpayers. Y'all are hiring me to help you to do this. So don't feel like that don't feel like you're a small place or anything like that just because of the size of it. Don't let that preclude you from coming in. Average non-farm adjusted gross income must be less than $1 million for conservation programs. If you made more than $1 million average adjusted gross income, and for 2012 that's taken into account 2008, 9, and 10, I believe. If you made more than $1 million, then you're not eligible for conservation programs. I know that probably most of y'all in the room, that's going to be a problem, isn't it? Usually not a big problem, but just be aware, even if you are an entity or an individual, that does apply to you. 2/3 of your average total AGI is from farming, ranching, and forestry, so most of your money needs to be obtained from farming and ranching or forestry operations. Payment limitation is $300,000 for the life of the farm bill. You can make up to $300,000 from the program if you qualify, but you cannot make more than that over the 6-year period of the program, which I believe for this payment limitation period ends in 2014. After they write a new farm bill, they will probably change that amount. There's no restrictions on the number of applications that a participant can submit. If you have several tracts of land, several different counties, even if it's in the same county, you can put in multiple applications. The problem is, or where we might run into a problem is, if you want the same practice on the same land. That's not eligible to do that. But if you want several practices, we can combine them into one, or we can split them up. That's going to kind of be your choice. There's higher payments for historically underserved, which I just went over in a couple of slides previous. Another part of the EQIP program is the Air Quality and On-Farm Initiative. Now, all of our EQIP programs address air, water, plant, domestic animal concerns, but these are two that they've really set aside that are for counties that are in proximity to our larger cities where there may be some air quality concerns, some particulate matter, some ozone concerns or things, because our current leadership is really being focused on, on greener, healthier environments, whether they be, through traditional, operations like putting in, terraces and ponds and things like that, but they're also wanting us to focus more on grass planting, clover planting, and things like that to try to reduce particulate matter. But all of our application periods that I have listed here are for any of the EQIP programs, whether they're under air quality, or the on-farm initiative, or just our general EQIP. But the application period 1, as you can see, for February 3rd is already expired. That was round 1. I should be funding the applications that I have on hand within the next couple of weeks. If you're interested in coming by, we have another couple of sign-up rounds that are going to be ending on March the 30th and June 1st. If you're interested or want a little bit more information about it, please come by and see me. These are an example of some of the program practices that we offer, and these are not in any particular order of importance or anything like that. These are just ones that I know in Austin County that people seem to really really like. We have a lot of them that work, and I have some examples of some things. And forgive me if your farm shows up on some of these pictures. I don't have any names attached with it, but I'm not putting these up on a pedestal, but some of the practices like brush management, the forage and biomass production, which is essentially grass planting, whether it be exotics or natives, which the range planting covers our natives, cross fencing, ponds, grade stabilization structures, pumps, wells. These are all things that we have helped people in this county do in the couple of years since I've been in Austin County. One of the examples right here, pipeline that was put in, irrigation, land leveling, and pipelines. Doing some brush management, taking out all of the weesach, mesquite trees on a place, coming back and getting it ready to plant in a type of grass that can be more utilized for grazing. The proper type of equipment to go in and take out some of these root sprouters. I'm not an expert. I'm not a PhD. I went to school, but a lot of the specs and standards that you have through extension, through some of these professionals, people that make their careers out of research, we get our information from them on how to do these practices, so that when you come out and you ask us, or we try to help you pay for these programs, we're telling you to do them the right way so that it's effective for you. You can turn those pastures, like the one in the bottom into something that's doing something for you, that's not just soaking up the water out of your ground, taking up all your groundwater. Something you can actually, put a blade of grass in a cow's mouth and make it worthwhile for you. Some of the other practices that we do, grass planting. We do everything from Bermuda grasses to eastern gammas to blue stem grasses. I know that kind of ties in with some of our producers that we have in the area in Colorado and Austin County. I know there's some folks around the room that have some fantastic examples of things that they've done in the past with native grasses. This is one of the bigger ones that we've had in the last year. And I don't know if you can all see it very well, but that's a water storage facility, a pump, and a trough that's been put on a place. I know that we just went through a drought, and you're saying, well, do you pay for it just because of the drought? Well, there's a lot of factors that play into it, and that's why we have engineers and we have engineering specs that kind of guide us in that function. But if you didn't have water in your pond, this was one of the things that we tried to help people with, if it qualified on your place. That's part of what my job is to try to do, is to help you go through the planning process, that if you needed something like this, that we could help provide it for you. And that's electric pumps, or that's solar pumps, or it could even be windmills. I'm not trying to tell anybody that they have to have one or the other. It's just whatever fits for your place. Another thing that we do, ponds. That's been a bedrock of what you were just hearing about. With the previous speaker talking about ponds. We don't get into so much to the fish management of it or to the fertilization of it. We're creating ponds for livestock water. We're trying to create a situation where if you don't have some water and you've got a catch, you've got some watershed coming through your property, hey, if you've got the proper soils, maybe we can help you build a pond. Even if we can't help pay for it, maybe we can offer you some technical assistance or some engineering guidance. These are all practices. Everything that I'm showing you are things that have been done in this county within the last couple of years. Another one is fencing. If you have some cross fencing, maybe you've got some old fence, maybe you want to try to start doing some rotational grazing on some places. I've had over 15, 16 inches of rain on my place in the last couple of months. I don't know if all of you are in the same boat, and I hope the good Lord keeps it coming. But a lot of cattle left this county. Philip and a lot of these other guys can testify that, there's probably going to be a lot of places that are going to have some grass coming up. Let's put some cross fencing out there, do some rotational grazing, and start managing what we have a little bit better. I hate to say it, but the drought may have forced us into a situation where we might use it as an opportunity to improve what we have out there. Just food for thought on that. I want to go into some of our other programs, and I'm not diminishing their importance at all, but these all have their place in different parts of Texas, and they're all offered in each county of Texas, as funding is available. But AWEP, the AWEP, is Agricultural Water Enhancement Program. It is a 1 to 10 year agreement, has a 1 to 10 year contract agreement. It's a new program within EQIP that allows to be used on agricultural lands, promotes ground and surface water conservation. It is, if you want some more information about AWEP or any of these other programs, I have some that I can kind of go over with you. I know we're kind of short on time, but AWEP applies mainly to cropland. The Wildlife Habitat Incentives Program, probably behind EQIP, is probably one of our more popular programs. It really helps folks that have a lot of wildlife habitat that really want to do a lot of things from food plots to agriculture, to wildlife watering, to patch burning. There's all kinds of things that WIP can help pay for and that can help people with as far as planning their wildlife grounds. But it assists in habitat conservation on ag land, forest or tribal lands, and provides financial assistance to participants seeking to improve their wildlife habitat. It allows a priority for projects that further national and state and regional habitat goals. It is not ranked locally. This is something that has to be ranked by one of our wildlife biologists at the zone level. So we have someone come in and evaluate your place for the WIP program. That's one of the only differences there is between WIP and EQIP. And it establishes the payment limit of not more than $50,000 per year. So I don't know if that might be of any interest to you, but if it is, or something you think might be helpful to you, come by and see me. Conservation Stewardship Program. CSP pays farmers who are improving conservation treatment on their working lands and encourages the continuation of practices that benefit soil, water, and air resources. This is a newer program that the NRCS has really pushed nationally. It really stresses the point that if you're doing a good job and you're willing to make minor enhancements or do small things to make your place even better, I'm not saying it has to be a marquee place or anything like that, but it will pay you for doing what you're doing right now and maintaining the records of it and keeping them accurately. There's probably several people in here that CSP would apply to. It can be anything from, and when I speak of enhancements, I'm talking about some of the practices that I had mentioned up there previously, but anything from adding trees to their riparian areas, to putting in water, to putting in wildlife escapes into their water troughs. It can be as simple as that. For more specifics on that, please give me come contact me about that as well. Farm and Ranch Lands Protection Program. This is an easement program that with a one-time upfront payment, it provides matching funds to state, tribal, and local governments or non-governmental organizations to purchase development rights to keep productive farm and ranch land in agricultural use. It's I don't have a whole lot of information about the Farm and Ranch Protection Program. It hasn't been around very long, but if you think that this might be something that might be interest you, it is more or less a permanent type easement. So you still own the land, but the NRCS is kind of in control of what goes on with it. You can still use it for, for hunting and things like that. If it's something that you think might apply to you, holler at me. Grassland Reserves Program helps landowners restore and protect grassland, including rangeland and pasture land and certain other lands, while maintaining areas for grazing. Emphasis is support for grazing operations and plant and animal biodiversity and grasslands under the greatest threat of conversion. This is the enrollment options for GRP, one-time upfront payment, or it does have permanent easements or 10, 15, or 20-year rental agreements. The Wetland Reserves Program is a voluntary, non-regulatory, incentive-based program that helps private landowners, farmers, and ranchers protect and restore wetlands on their property. I know that I tell people we don't have a whole lot of wetlands in Austin County, but there are some. If you think that, if you have hydric soils, if you have, they showed a picture of cattails a while ago. If you have hydrovitic vegetation, you have things like that where it constantly is staying wet, maybe we need to do a wetland determination on it to see if this program might apply to you. Permanent easements, 30-year easements, or 10-year restoration agreements for this. Now, the reason I put the questions up here is if you do have any questions, if we have time, I would like to answer them. But I'll tell you, I think that Philip and his crew put together a pretty good booklet here. And some of the handouts that I have in the very back of it, I don't know if y'all have a chance, if everyone has one of those, but on the very back for the programs, I have a portion there that goes through the application process, if y'all will take a look at it. And it kind of gives you all of the ins and outs of what you will need if you do decide, or you do think that there's something that I might be able to help you with, or my technician, Meryl Schramm, that works in the office with me, that if you will help, if you will come to us, I mean, we can try to do the best we can to plan a decent conservation plan for you and help you with any financial assistance that we can. But it really starts with what you want. I mean, I don't, when you come to my office, I don't tell you this is what you need or this is what you should be doing. I want this to be locally led. I want it to be the producer comes to me and says, hey, I have a problem here. I have something that I would like to do. My neighbor's doing a fantastic job over here. Maybe I'd like to do it that way, or whatever the reason might be. You come to us, I'll try to do the best that I can to find something that we have that links up with some of the programs that we offer, and maybe we have funding for it. There's no guarantees, but if you don't ask, you'll never know. I appreciate y'all's time, and if there are any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.